People wonder what happened to the iCarlys and the Wizards of Waverly Places. People say, like, these shows aren't what they used to be, but spoiler alert, that's not true. All these sitcoms actually did stay the same. The formula for Drake and Josh, Phil of the Future. The only thing is, we outgrew the formula. It wasn't authentic to us anymore. It related to us when it needed to, and it just continued to relate to that same generation, and we kind of moved up. We wanted to hear about more authentic stories, deeper interpersonal relationships, and kids going through something more intense. We wanted to know more about ourselves through TV.
What's up, everybody? It's Johnny2000, and I've heard a lot of you reference some really incredible shows like Malcolm in the Middle, Everybody Hates Chris, and I wanted to find a way to weave them into my videos, and I found the perfect way. So let's get into it.
So Tween started out in the family-friendly content. There were sitcoms specifically for you and what you were going through in middle school. The content is fairly light and it's child-friendly. Younger issues like That's So Raven, or shows about fame like Hannah Montana, or even buddy comedies like Drake and Josh or Sweet Life. With capturing the middle school kid demographic, the plots didn't really need to be deep. Like, they focused on survival tips like Ned's Declassified, or friends disagreeing, maybe like Sam and Cat, or internet fame like iCarly. But everything remained pretty much family friendly. But at night, whether it be Teen Nick or ABC, there was a growing secret world. You ever notice you look up sitcoms and Hannah Montana would be on the same page of like That 70s Show? To me, that's a little weird. If tween shows were a genre, they definitely were right before teen shows. And the differential is kind of big. For the kids that got used to the tween shows, but were tired of seeing the happy cookie-cutter Disney Channel, Nickelodeon sitcoms, like, we wanted to migrate towards something real, more authentic. Shows that, like, a slightly older demographic would be drawn to. We outgrew teen shows, and things kind of trickled in, like YouTube and streaming. Suddenly, nobody really wanted tween shows, because we outgrew it, and the younger generation didn't seem super into it. This is where we migrated to ABC, CBS, Nick at Night. Here, our tastes matured from middle school mentality to high school life. Let's talk about the shows you watched when you made the switch. I thought it'd be really funny to attach some of the tween shows you probably grew up watching to what you eventually liked in more mature shows like Malcolm in the Middle, That 70s Show. Like, these were the new Disney Channel and Nickelodeon shows. These were the shows that were actually speaking to us. So Ned's Declassified. If you were a Ned's fan and you wanted tips about middle school, you probably liked Malcolm in the Middle. Malcolm in the Middle is like a family sitcom about a family on the lower end of the income scale that have issues with each other and fitting in with the world. And what else did they have in common? They had a main character that kind of talked to you as the audience. I feel like you might like this show if you feel like you have more questions in life that made you kind of feel insecure to ask. I don't know, like there was something about a main character filling you in that felt really comfortable. Like you're in the world and you're being explained what's going on. In both of these worlds, like the characters are over dramatic and the situations are dire. Like, let's not talk about how Ned's Declassified literally had sound effects. And if you're looking into it, you'll really like it. If you like Ned's Declassified and Big Time Rush's slapstick humor like the Scott Fellows comedy style and the overuse of exaggerated scenarios, you also might like Everybody Hates Chris. This is a show that Chris Rock made about him growing up in the New York suburbs, and the characters are outlandish, and you watch Chris and Ned because they're kind of down on their luck and surrounded by crazy people. The tones of these shows prioritize comedic effect instead of the groundedness, probably because a part of you found comfort in believing you're the only normal one in your life. Like, maybe you feel like you guide yourself in the wrong direction sometimes, so these shows give you a sense of, like, agency over your own life. Maybe a part of you wants to learn from what this person is learning. Sometimes self-deprecating humor makes you feel, like, lighter or more humorous, and it must make you feel good when Chris or Ned actually get a win themselves.
Sonny with a Chance is surprisingly a lot like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where it takes somebody who's used to being like on the East Coast or the Midwest and throw them into the glitz and glamour of a West Coast lifestyle. And it doesn't seem that different, but being in like a rich environment really changes you, just the same way it changes Sonny Monroe and Fresh Prince. They both seem to have a hard time adjusting to these new places, And I feel like if you're somebody who used to move around a lot as a kid, or switched high schools maybe, you might identify a lot with being the new kid all over again in the midst of your life. Whether it be for a good reason, like joining a TV show, or a sad reason, like getting kicked out of your house. I don't know, there's just a lot for these two characters to learn. At least it started out that way. I feel like Sonny with a Chance lost itself, and the Fresh Prince stayed consistent, but I digress.
iCarly captures cast of friends is something I think you would like in That 70s Show. iCarly in That 70s Show kind of invented the friendship family, where you don't necessarily hang out with your own family as much as you do with your friend family, the people that you trust and are surrounded by you. iCarly does that, and That 70s Show does that. When you get older, like, the family-friendly stuff gets less realistic to you. You may not even be watching TV that much. But if you're me, you'd be watching TV only all the time. I watched these shows because it made me feel like I was living without risking embarrassing myself at, like, a friend's birthday party or basement, like That 70s Show. These shows made you feel surrounded by a cast of friends, breaking trust, hurting feelings, like problems that you consider real now. But you'll watch it episode after episode and find new and funny ways to make you laugh. Does it sound like both shows? Yeah, like, that's why I like That 70s Show. I definitely would recommend it. The same way iCarly develops their web show is the same way Topher Grace as Eric Foreman tries to woo over Donna. But more so, the show was focused on the hijinks and the character relationships, with the main plots almost always taking a backseat. That 70s Show welcomes you to a consistent cast, the consistent sets. Same thing with iCarly, these relationships that stay the same after 5 or 6 years. There's something comforting about that. Simple problems, like sometimes about money or going on a date or interpersonal relationships outside of families. That's what these two shows did best. I wish I could tell myself back then that you could get out and go and have a basement like That 70s Show with all your friends around you. Find your people that hang out at one person's house most of the time. Like, build your own family and not just watch it on TV. And I definitely recommend it. If you like Wizards of Waverly Place, like, weirdly enough, I think you might like The Goldbergs. It's a family comedy, with The Goldbergs, like, just barely going above family friendly, because it's another Disney show. Obviously, they're not going to go wacky. But if you're used to a lot of family conflict, maybe in real life, and don't really want to deal with it, you're probably comforted by the Russos and the Goldbergs starting out with an issue and kind of resolving it. While Wizards was about the wizarding world and kind of diving into the magic of the reality that the Russos live, and you're nostalgic for the 80s, you would definitely be interested in Adam Goldberg's immersive, exciting experiences with everything pop culture that's appearing in the 80s. Both shows give you a sense of wonder and a character that is trying to grow in this second world. It does a great job at having slightly enticing stories for you to tune into. Although I would say Wizards would probably be, if you were expecting a better story, like, you want to pay attention a little bit more, but not really that much. Like, they do not go too heavy into it. I would also say if you like Wizards, you would like Fresh Off the Boat. That's kind of like a fish out of water TV show, but it's about somebody slightly younger, a middle school kid, Eddie, and him and his family's culture is just so wacky when they move to Florida. If you feel weird or out of your environment, this show would definitely feel good. With Wizards, like, the family has to bond because they have a secret that nobody in the world can know except for them. But Fresh Off the Boat is kind of like a family's decided secret, where it's like, we're gonna kind of keep our culture to ourselves because sometimes people in the outside world don't understand. But they do usually learn that when they be authentically themselves, the world does kind of come to them. True Jackson VP, like a Keke Palmer taking on a fashion empire, the new it girl that's doing something nobody her age is doing, you'd probably like Young and Hungry. Yeah, another ABC show with Emily Osment. That show's about her wanting to be a famous cook, and she ends up working for this really, really rich guy. And she forms a relationship with him in the workplace. True Jackson VP is also kind of like that. Maybe you're somebody that's so invested in your job that you want an unrealistic promotion to happen, or you're just so invested in your career that it essentially is your whole life. Each episode takes place with a different scenario that has to do with the work environment, with the characters being super funny and reacting to the world in a way that you probably find relatable. You no longer need to watch True Jackson VP because Young and Hungry are talking about a little bit more relationships than True Jackson would have ever gotten into. That's probably why you're watching it. A lot of people that liked Victorious
were people that had a really good appreciation for performing arts. People that liked to sing, believed in talent being currency, and trying to be taken seriously. This is everything that Glee does, and so much more. See, Glee has musical numbers, it has character drama, it kind of does everything that you would hope Victorious set out to do, but just became kind of a joke in itself. I feel like if Victorious took the direction that Glee took, uncovering actual relationships outside of just these jokes, it would have been better. But you probably like it because the characters are expressive and take themselves very seriously, despite the fact that everything is a little exaggerated. And if you like Zoe 101, this normal girl going to a dormitory where she kind of makes a family out of her board mates, you would probably like Dance Academy. Dance Academy does everything that Zoe 101 set out to do, but they kind of go a little bit more in depth. If you feel like Zoe 101's characters could have went a little bit deeper and the plot lines could have took themselves a little more seriously, then Dance Academy is the show for you. It's about this girl named Tara who really strives to be one of the best dancers ever. Imagine Zoe actually had a goal and cared about something as opposed to just lollygagging through school trying to just goof off. Dance Academy takes the viewer a little bit more seriously, knows that they can't just have comedy out the bat. And if you like Zoe 101, I feel like you're not committed to only being comedy. Like, that show does delve a little bit further than the other sitcoms. Highly recommend this one. So the next one is actually kind of interesting. Good Luck Charlie is really fun because it's a family dynamic show, a little unconventional because the characters are a little quirky, but I mean, for the most part, it's a fairly grounded show about raising this child, with the characters reflecting on how they wish they'd grown up versus the reality of taking care of this new life. The parent and kid dynamic, and the joint responsibility of caring for another person. A show that does this phenomenally is Raising Hope. Raising Hope is one of those shows that never really got enough praise. This bright-eyed optimist named Jimmy who accidentally has a baby, but he's so committed to giving it the right environment, he devotes his entire life to giving the new kid hope his entire being. Raising Hope, I think, is funnier, it dives deeper, and if you really liked Good Luck Charlie and have a heart for Charlie, you're definitely gonna have a heart for Hope. These are all teen shows following a teen lead. I never realized how similar these shows were, but The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, being a buddy comedy about two twins running around a hotel, is surprisingly similar in tone to Boy Meets World. I feel like the definition of the title Boy Meets World lends itself to the theme of coming of age, kind of like The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody stepping into their personalities. Now, bear with me here. I know it seems like a lot of the circumstances are different, but if you like a really open-minded show that kind of isn't afraid to explore really deep topics, like Zach and Cody has an episode about people in wheelchairs, and Boy Meets World always covers more complicated topics, you probably have turned to it if you really liked the insight that Sweet Life had provided. Sure, there's humor and lightheartedness, but this is one of the only Disney Channel shows that really went there, and if you want a show that goes there for a teen show, Boy Meets World is really good at that. It's not until you compare these shows side to side till you realize how diverse people's mindsets can be. Different things that make people comfort in the environment they're given. What they take seriously, the goals they have, and the humor they take to approach these goals. They served as great role models to kind of figure out our own identity and what kind of life we wanted to live versus one that we watched on TV. Do you feel like you tried to recreate a teen or tween sitcom environment in your own life, whether it be just to make a friend group a lot more lighter and funnier, solving more dramatic problems for your friends? Like, what did you guys take away from these shows? I know these shows partly raised me, and I could tell exactly when I took the transition from tween to teen show. And I was interested in almost all of these different perspectives, so every one of these shows kind of appealed to me. Do you guys agree or disagree with any of my comparisons? Did you grow up with any of these older sitcoms, or did you grow up with the younger sitcoms? I'm just so curious kind of how your guys' experience played out. Feel free to comment below and let me know what's up. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for contributing, commenting, liking, sharing all the Johnny 2000s content. I'm so happy with where my channel is going, and I can't wait to dive into deeper, more introspective topics with you guys. But until next time, I will see you guys soon. This is Johnny 2000 signing off.